As the groom, I'm not required to make a speech. I'm just here to thank people for what they've done, but I will come to them. I thought I'd talk first of all about marriage. And I've heard it described in various ways as a funeral where you get to smell your own flowers. The last decision a man's ever allowed to make. And as Groucho said, marriage is an institution, but who wants to live in an institution? I don't go along with these theories. To me, the true lesson is that marriage is not a sprint. It's a gradual fastening of your teeth in each other's necks until you are locked in an infernal embrace which neither of you can break for fear of bleeding to death. No, I'm sorry, I mean, that's a marathon. It's a marathon. 2 television antennae got married the other day. The wedding was fantastic, the reception was dreadful. Fairly early in the day to be drinking alcohol, but it's for medicinal purposes. I'm sick of being sober. I've been on a whiskey diet. I lost 3 days last week. I'm just doing this to fill in. A little while back, a mate of mine got married, and before the wedding ceremony, he said to he was talking with the vicar, and the vicar said, do you want a traditional marriage or do you want the modern service? He went, well, I'll go for the modern. Okay, fine. Well, on the day of the wedding, he was driving down, there was torrential rain, and it was pouring, and the car broke down, he didn't know how he was going to get there in time, so he rolled his trousers up to his knees, and he waded through the water to get to the church. And he got there late, obviously, and they rushed him up the aisle to his wife. He's standing there, and the vicar leaned forward and whispered in his ear and said, pull your trousers down. And my mate said, Vicar, if it's all the same with you, I'll go with the traditional instead. Even later than my mate turning up, this lady came rushing up the steps, and as she got to the door, the usher went, hang on a second, have you got an invite? She went, no, I haven't. He said, well, you're a friend of the groom. She said, certainly not, I'm the bride's mother. Which brings me to my mother-in-law. She said to me recently, how would you like to have a little chat with me, Mark? I said, through a medium. She said, when you die, I'm going to dance on your grave. I said, good, I'm being buried at sea. She came round a couple of months back. Well, I didn't know it was her. There was a knock at the front door. I went and opened it. There was Audrey with a suitcase standing on the doorstep. She looked a bit tearful. She said, Mark, is it all right if I stay here for a couple of weeks? I said, certainly, Audrey, and shut the door. My mate Peter McDermott was going to come over to the wedding from Belfast, and he phoned up BA. He said, how long does it take to get from Belfast to London? The girl said, just a minute. He went, God, that's quick. Maddy and I decided to have a civil marriage rather than a church one for a number of reasons, but mostly though because we're both atheists, which has its positive aspects and its negative ones. Firstly, they don't have any holidays. It's no good. And secondly, you've got no one to talk to during an orgasm. Anyway. Right, it's on the thank yous. Firstly, I should like to thank Fred and Audrey, Maddy's parents, for my wife. I would like to say thank you both to Audrey and to my father Terry for their readings this morning. Lovely. Heartfelt thanks go to Charlotte, our registrar and Maddy's oldest friend, for a wonderful service. Thanks to Sally and Tony and all the staff for providing breakfast. And also to Paul, our barman upstairs, who you'll get to meet later on, I expect. I'd like to thank Michael Moss for the magnificent cake, which is a crying shame to cut. I'd like to thank all of you coming today to celebrate our marriage from right down the south coast to the north of England. I would like to thank especially my children, Maddy's stepchildren, Dan and Amy, I thought I'd swap it around the order for being part of the ceremony and for looking bloody gorgeous. And finally, I would like to thank my best male mate on the planet, a man I've known for 32 years, and who through all that time has been a true, trusted, honest and loyal friend. Oh, I'm going to get emotional now. My best man and a brilliant tap dancer, John Diedrich. Thank you, mate. And with that, I give you my best man, John.
Thank you, Mark. It was a bright, sunny October Monday day in 1979 in Leicester. I had come to England from Australia to play curly in a revival of Oklahoma. And on that October morning at the cast meet and greet at the Leicester Haymarket Theatre, little did I realise that in that room, in that one gathering, I would fall in love with two people for the rest of my life. One was my wife Joanne, who was the dance captain of that show, and I'm happy and proud to say that we're still married, and she wishes she could be here today and sends her love to you.
Spoke to me yesterday.
But she's in Korea putting on another production of Cats. Somebody has to earn the dough while I'm over here enjoying myself. And the other was this rather shortish fellow with a true glint in his eye and warmth and openness in his heart in abundance. It was Mark. We took to each other that morning and we became inseparable friends, which has only matured as we had so much in common. We both loved musical theatre. Why, I don't know, but we did. We both loved all kinds of sport. He taught me about his football game, and I taught him about mine, Australian rules. And I can't tell you how excited we both were when we found out that both our colours were red and white. We shared the same sense of humour and pretty much the same sort of politics. I'm not quite as left-wing as Mark because I don't think that's actually possible. We were both astonishingly attractive and disgustingly talented and contemptuous of almost all authority. We loved drinking beer and we both loved women. It was a match made in heaven. Then when the show moved to Oxford from Leicester, because we'd gotten on so well, we thought this would be a great chance for us to share accommodation together, which we duly did by arranging to stay in a houseboat together on Oxford in the middle of winter in February. This brought about our one and only disagreement in 32 years. And it all came about because of Mark's stamina. Mark has much better stamina than I do, especially when it comes to being involved with another party. One Friday night, displaying this stamina with another party, he managed to keep me awake until about 5 a.m, by which stage I just lay in my bunk and listened to the treat that I was hearing. We had two shows the next day, and I was furious that I had been kept awake. I woke late in the morning and left through Mark's bedroom and saw him comatose with his partner on the bed in the houseboat. When I arrived at the theatre, I asked the stage management to tell me when Mark arrived to let me know, as I was going to demand that I was never kept awake like that again. I had to protect my voice to give my performance. Finally I was told Mark arrived at the theatre. I went straight to his dressing room, but he wasn't there. Then I asked the stage manager to call him over the tannoy to come to my dressing room. This he duly did, and Mark arrived. I complained to him vociferously about what had occurred during the evening. After I had finished giving him a thorough dressing down, I asked him what he thought about it. He gave it some thought, looked me in the eye and replied, "I think you're a wanker." How could anybody argue with that? He was absolutely right, of course. We became even better friends after that. Now, legend has it that on that particular houseboat in Oxford, there were a series of them, and legend has it that on one particular night when we were having another raucous party, that Maddy was in a houseboat only about 3 or 4 houseboats down, and was almost tempted to come and join us at that party. God knows what would have happened if the 17-year-old Madeline had arrived to the 26 and 28-year-old John and Mark. But we won't go there. Now, realising that living together was the only thing that we couldn't do together, we then ended up doing everything else together. As the show went on a tour for a year and then opened in London in September 1980, it was a big hit, and we played here for another year. Mark was always there for me, through the best of times and the worst of times. He was there for me when my father tragically died in April 1981, and he was my best man at my wedding to Joanne in July of the same year. When I was suspended from Oklahoma for 3 performances for upsetting the producers, which is not hard to do, especially the little prick that produced that one, Mark Mark refused to perform and got suspended as well. The show closed, I returned to Australia, but we never lost touch with each other. Mark married and had his two beautiful children, Dan and Amy. I returned to England several times, and Mark even made it once to Australia. Then he told me he had met his soulmate, a woman called Maddy Lufton. Now, I hadn't heard of Maddy, so my wife had. And I asked Joanne, because she'd worked with her on Hunting of the Snark. And I said, do you know Maddy? And Joanne's reply was, yes, she was one of the best and finest dancers she'd ever worked with. When I met Maddy, you could tell that she was indeed Mark's soulmate. She had the same passion, intelligence, truthfulness, and beauty and honesty that Mark had. Their love for each other was thrilling. The delight in each other's company intoxicating. Nothing would have kept these two people apart. They were truly meant for each other. And now they are married. This is a wonderful day for them and for us to be able to be here to share it with them. I love the two of you very much. You are my dearest friends. You are generous, kind, loving and honest. You both have talent to burn. May you both have the happiness and success in your married life that you truly deserve. Everyone here in this room is here because they love the two of you. And that is the way it should be. For how could they not? You are unique. It is now, however, what have I written here? Oh, that's right. It's my honour to be asked to be your best man, and it's an honour to have always been your best mate, as you are mine. I love you. Would please stand and raise your glasses?